Shalom, my friends. Welcome to this week's Word Study. Today we're going to be talking about saved from all sin. In Genesis chapter 22, verse 2, that's Bereshit, Elohim said, "Take your son, now, your only son, Yitzchak," that's Isaac, "whom you love." And that word love there is the first occurrence of the word love in the entire word. So this has a special significance about love, where the Father is speaking about his only brought forth son, his bane. Again, Elohim said, "Take your bane, your son, now, your only son, Yitzchak, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering upon one of the mountains of which I command you." Now notice there in Genesis 22, verse 2, Elohim does not recognize Ishmael, Abraham's son of the flesh. Yitzchak was not of the flesh, but of the Ruach. And concerning that, we want to look at Genesis chapter 17, verse 19, where Elohim said, "Sarah, your wife, shall bear you a son indeed, and you shall call his name Yitzchak," which means, she laughed. "And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant." We see that Elohim brought forth Yitzchak through his Ruach, unlike Ishmael. Now, the mountain that Elohim commanded was, get this, the very same spot where Yeshua was crucified. That was Calvary. Look at John, Yochanan, chapter 3, verse 16. "Elohim so loved the world that he gave his only brought forth bane," his son. So you see where Yitzchak is a model of Yahweh's only son. In verse 7, Yitzchak says to his father, "See the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" And Abraham answered him, saying, "My son, Elohim provides for himself the lamb." And it says they went on together. That word there in the original Aramaic Hebrew means that they went on in agreement, just as Yahweh and Yeshua had an agreement for Yeshua to be crucified and take on the sins of the world. In the book of Ivrim, Hebrews chapter 11, verses 17 through 19, we read, "By belief, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Yitzchak, and he who had received the promises offered up his only brought forth son, of whom it was said, 'In Yitzchak your seed shall be called,' reckoning that Elohim was able to raise even from the dead, from which he received him back as a type or a model." In verse 11, back in Bereshit, the messenger of Yahweh called to Abraham. Other versions say the angel of the Lord. Well, wherever you see that title, angel of the Lord, it should be Malach of Yahweh, or messenger of Yahweh. That is referring specifically to Yeshua. And then in verse 13, 3 days after Elohim told Avraham to do this act, the ram appeared. In effect, you could say that Yitzchak was dead for 3 days. Again, another model, as Yeshua was dead for 3 days after his crucifixion. And Avraham called that place Yahweh Yireh. It's not Jireh, it's Yireh, which means Yahweh provides. And what does he provide? Salvation. In verse 15, Yeshua calls to Avraham from the Shamayim. But in verse 16, it's Yahweh who speaks. And he declares that all those who believe by faith, and what is faith? Faith is being washed by and growing in his word. Those who do that will become Avraham's seed. Now, notice in verse 19 and on, here's another model, very exciting, of the Netchatef, that is what people commonly call the rapture. From verse 19 and on, where is Yitzchak? Where is Isaac? He is not to be seen. Abraham comes down from the hill. He meets with his 2 servants and they go off, and there's no mention of Yitzchak, no mention of Isaac. And he doesn't appear again until chapter 24, verse 67, when his Gentile bride is brought to him by Eliezer. And Eliezer means comforter, another title of Ruach HaKodesh, who brings Yeshua's bride to him. Yeshua left the earth. He's not seen again until the Comforter, Ruach HaKodesh, brings his bride to him. The Father modeled that in his word in Bereshith, telling the story of Avraham and Yitzchak, where, you have the scene where Avraham is supposed to sacrifice his only son. And his son is just being obedient. And then at one point he's like, look, here's all this stuff. Where's the sacrificial lamb? And Avraham says, Elohim will provide that himself. In fact, he does it himself. Elohim, remember, is a title that refers to Yahweh, Yeshua, and Ruach HaKodesh. The 3 operating as one are referred to as Elohim. And the Father provided himself through his bane, his only brought forth bane, salvation. Now, in verse 8, Abraham said, quote, Elohim provides for himself the lamb. Literally, it would be Elohim ra'ah se, or Elohim provides the lamb. We know that Elohim, as I just said, refers to the Father, the Son, and his Ruach operating as one. But here we see Elohim ra'ah, provides. Se, the lamb. So let's look at those words. Here's ra'ah. You can see this in Strong's, it's number H7200. Strong's says that it means to present or provide. There's a whole slew of other definitions there, but those are the only 2 that apply in this verse. Ra'ah is spelled Resh Aleph He. Resh, Elohim's thoughts, picture of a man's head. Aleph, picture of the ox's head, has to do with being yoked to Yeshua and Ruach HaKodesh. Yeshua and the Ruach being yoked to Abba Father. And then we have He, picture of a man with his arms raised. He says, behold. So Ra'ah would be saying, Elohim's thoughts are all about him being yoked to his only brought forth Son and his Ruach, and the result being, behold, this act will reveal HaMashiach. And then we have Say, the Lamb. Strong's H7716. Strong says that Say means a member of a flock, a goat, a lamb, or a sheep. Says some other things too, but those are the appropriate ones. Say is spelled Sheen, Hey. Sheen, picture of two front teeth. In this case, it's talking about the second one, Yeshua. And Hey, once again, behold, the Lamb is HaMashiach, Yeshua. Now, we've talked about the true meaning of the word we see as sin in previous videos. To sin means to miss the mark. And the true word for sin is chata. Strong's number H2398. And it is spelled Aleph, Tet, Chet. Aleph, picture of the ox head, has to do with headship. In this case, it's talking about being yoked to and taught by something or someone other than Elohim, making someone or something other than Elohim one's headship. And then we have Tet, picture of a basket. In this case, it has to do with containing and storing wickedness. What is wickedness? Again, the Western mindset, thinks of some evil, rotten, mean, horrible, murderous person. The true understanding of what it means to be wicked is simply anyone who is walking on their own path, going their own way, instead of being on the narrow path, going the way, his way. Anyone who is not going the Father's way, going their own way, that's wickedness. In this case, we have Tet, speaking of someone who's containing and storing things of their own making, or things of the world, things of wickedness that have gathered from their own path. And then finally, Chet, picture of a fence. Chet has to do with the operation of the gifts of the Ruach. So in this case, there is no operation of the gifts of the Ruach going on, and the person is being trapped in Satan's camp. So to sin, that is chata, is to have something other than Elohim as your headship, yoking yourself to someone or something other than Elohim, and storing and containing false doctrines and things that are not of Elohim, and having no operation of the gifts of the Ruach, and therefore being trapped in Satan's fencing in his camp. So, we talked about sin, chata, and our recent study we covered these things. Anyone who says they are without sin, 1 John 1:8, deceives themselves, and the truth is not in them. I covered this recently, and there were some people actually getting angry about it and posting, no, once you're born again, you don't sin anymore. If you're sinning, then you're not born again. Ridiculous thing to say because of 1 John 1:8. Anyone who says they have no sin in their lives is deceiving themselves, and the truth is not in them. No, my friends, we sin every day. We are not perfect. We miss the mark every day. You're trying to make a spaghetti sauce, and a lot of times you get it really right. Oh, today you made one and it's terrible. Yeah, you sinned. You missed the mark of making a special spaghetti sauce. That's what sin is all about. And we are caught up in a world of confusion and darkness, and sin is all around us. We have no idea what it could be like to be in a world where there is no sin, no darkness. Those of us who love Elohim are going to find out what that is like, and it's going to be staggeringly wonderful and exciting. But for now, no, we just have to bear with it, go through trials and tribulations, as long as you're in this world, Yeshua said, you will face trials and tribulations. Why? Because sin is all around us. Missing the mark is all around us. People we love, they miss the mark. They hurt our feelings. Then we miss the mark because we take it personal and attack them back, Now, as I've said before, if you are being washed by and growing in His Word, if you are pitching your tent with Elohim, sin starts diminishing a whole lot. Someone you love can do something that would normally hurt your feelings, but because you're being washed by the Word and you're growing in the Word, you don't take it personal. You look at them and you can see their own suffering that caused them to lash out, maybe in anger or something like that. And you do miss the mark less and less and less. But there's only one who could walk in this world of darkness and confusion and never once miss the mark. And that is our beloved Adon, Yeshua. He never sinned. He took on every sin imaginable, the sins of the entire world. He took them on Himself and did not miss the mark, did not take it personal and react in any sinful ways. And in doing that, He paid the price that we cannot. And He became Abba Father's sacrificial lamb on our behalf. That's our study, my friends. As always, I hope and I pray that this study is a beracha to you and yours. And Abba willing, I'll see you here next week. Until then, shalom, my friends.
Now 2,000 years have gone by, it's another working day. Some would rather let it lie, but the question still remains.